This podcast is part of the Big Heads Media Podcast Network. Go to bigheadsmedia.com for more great podcasts. Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to Dumpster Diving.
Splash, splash.
I can't do it like you do it. This is where we look at some of the pop culture detritus and let you know how horrible it is. But sometimes we find some hidden gems. But not today, Mike.
No, not today.
So, I looked up the worst episode of Seinfeld according to people that vote on these things, and that's the episode we did. It's called Male Unbonding. I believe it is the only episode of Seinfeld to not start with the. Larry.
Yeah, I'd have to take your word for it. I'm not a big Seinfeld fan.
Yeah, and I like Seinfeld a lot, the TV show. It's clear after watching Curb Your Enthusiasm what is the Jerry Seinfeld influence on Seinfeld and what the Larry David influence is, and I like the Larry David-esque like plots and things a lot more. But
yeah, he seems to be much more surreal. Like he's more comfortable waiting for the punchline, you know, and unlike Bill Manette, who knows where to put the punchline at the end.
Right, exactly. But yeah, this was not a great episode. This was, I believe it's episode 4 of the first season, of the 5-episode first season. The entire first season is not very good for this show. But the basic plot is, I mean, we can do the plot of this episode in maybe 2 minutes. This might be our shortest episode ever.
Yeah, this seems like the most generic thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like a very generic '90s plot. It's Jerry, you know, he's telling jokes at the beginning. I guess do they phase that out later?
Well, it's usually there. Well, yeah, it gets phased out quite a bit, but it's when it is there in the later seasons. And that's one thing that I noticed. The stand-up parts are very truncated. It might last about 5 seconds instead of like an entire routine.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not pardon me. I'm not a big fan of Seinfeld, but I've seen a few episodes just because it's everywhere. My wife likes the show, and so I've seen some, you know, while she's watching it.
Yeah.
It's like that weird phenomenon, like where if you don't really watch a TV show, whenever you watch it, you always seem to catch like the same episode.
Yes.
I think the one I always catch is the Vanderlei Industry one, where like he's like, you know, running in because I think he gets fired or something, and then he's like, I don't even know what's going on, to be honest with you. I think like he's having someone call to say, because he said he works at Vanderlei Industries, I think is what's happening. I'm not really.
Yeah, George is applying for a new job, and he left Vanderlei Industries as one of his references, and it's Jerry's apartment number.
Okay, that makes sense.
But yeah, so George is quite thin in this episode. He packed on some weight over the years. Poor Jason Alexander.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. Like, I mean, aside from Jerry, obviously, and Julia Louis-Dreyfus, like nobody else since it has really been like, you know, steadily in things. Right.
Yeah. I mean, of course, you know, Kramer's, you know, using the N-word at comedy clubs, and I think George has been on Jason Alexander's been on Broadway maybe a couple times.
Yeah, I think he originally, because I know I watch Comedians in Cars with Coffee, which I like. And I think so. I've heard a lot about the history. I think he was originally like a Broadway person, and they were trying to get somebody else, but he wasn't available, so they auditioned him, and you know he.
Yeah.
Sorry, I sound like I'm dying over here. I'm just I'm smoking and coughing a lot for some reason. It's very cold here. That's probably why.
Oh yeah, that'll do it. But I mean, the basic plot of this episode is that Jerry has a friend that he's had since he was a kid.
And his friend, I can't. He's in something else, isn't he? Is his name like Mr.? Isn't he from Saved by the Bell or something?
I don't think he was in Saved by the Bell, but he's
I for
definitely.
some reason thought Mr. Tuttle was his name, but I don't think that's Mr. Tuttle from like the the old school.
Oh no,
You
I
know,
remember. He does look a little like a thinner version of Mr. Tuttle, so I can
yeah.
see that.
Yeah, I should have looked this up, but yeah, he's a character actor who's in quite a few things in the '80s. Like if you saw him, you definitely would recognize his face.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm looking up his name real quick. Let's
Yeah,
see.
but so he's got this friend, and like it's like Jerry's talking about, like, oh, I can't. Yeah. Sorry, I have a terrible impression, but I mean, it is what it is. But it's like he's like pained, and he's like, oh, I'm trying to not be this person's friend, and it's like comparing it to like a woman you want to break up with, but you can't quite figure out how to.
I would have been Stalin's friend if he had a ping pong table when I was 10 years old.
Yeah, right.
That's how that like it's funny because you can see that like Jason Alexander, real actor, he hasn't quite found George yet. Elaine, real actress, hasn't quite found Elaine yet. Michael Richards, real actor, definitely hasn't found Kramer yet, exactly what he wants to do with Kramer. But Jerry is just the same from the pilot episode to the end of the show. He never gets better. He never gets worse. It's always the same. What do you mean, George?
Yeah, a couple of points I want to make. First of all, Stalin killed way more than Hitler. And
Absolutely.
secondly, yeah, I know you immediately notice that Jerry Seinfeld is either not acting or just a bad actor. I mean, it's like there's no difference between him and comedians. And I mean, obviously, he exaggerates like the voice and stuff, but he is a not good at all actor, and he never improves.
No, not at all.
Like Will Smith, I mean, he's not my favorite actor, but like his first episode of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air to the last, he's definitely improved greatly.
Oh,
He's. I mean, he's not like he's not like Denzel Washington or like Meryl Streep or anything, but I mean, he's not like a rapper who just like got a TV show. He's definitely passable, and I think he's even been nominated for some stuff like 21 grams, maybe.
yeah. I think he was nominated for Ali too, and
I
maybe
haven't seen that, but I mean, I've seen him turn in good performances. But I don't know if Jerry's just not trying, or he just doesn't understand what acting is, or if it's a combination of both.
yeah. I honestly think like he said to himself, or maybe even to the executives, "Look, I can't act. If I'm just gonna play myself, then I'm just I mean, there's not much I can do." And maybe they were like okay with that, and like it's clear he never put in any work. He never tried to become a
No,
better actor.
especially, I mean, like I said, I've seen the last episode, and like you said, he doesn't change any
No.
really. But it's like I don't even. It's whatever, it works. Obviously, it's a very successful show, but
Right.
I think a lot of the earlier parts too were just him taking like his stand-up act and just like cramming it into here. Like he like, we need like maybe Larry David.
Yeah, exactly.
What's funny is like it's almost like a completely different tale of their stand-up careers. Like obviously Jerry Seinfeld like is very polished. Like he was able to go anywhere and tell jokes. He has like theories. He's a real student of comedy.
Yeah.
And not to say Larry David isn't a student in comedy, and I can't really speak to that, but like people like it's mostly stories told about him as a stand-up. Like he would often get so like frustrated, he would just like run off the stage and not come back.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. There's the famous story of him, like, he comes out to do his set. He just does a quick survey of the audience and he goes, no, not tonight, and then walks off.
Right, right. But yeah, he was he's been around quite a bit too. I think was he on or did he write for Fridays, which also had Michael Richards.
He wrote for Fridays. I think he might have appeared in a couple sketches, but he primarily wrote. And of course, he wrote for one season of Saturday Night Live.
Yes, I wasn't sure if he was a featured player as well, but I knew he was involved with SNL also.
Yeah, I don't think he actually ever appeared on screen at SNL, but he wrote for one season. I think he did. He might have got one sketch on air, I think.
Right, but yeah, he's obviously someone like from I've heard multiple comedians talk when he just like gets so frustrated, just gives up.
Yeah.
But I mean, so yeah, you can tell there's I think my guess. I don't obviously know the true dichotomy of it. I mean, for all I know, Seinfeld's just as abstract with his jokes and stuff as Larry David is, but he's just selling like the jokes that he knows will go over. But I think it's definitely like some of the more famous episodes definitely seem more Larry David influence. Like they're almost like surreal in some aspects, like the soup Nazi guy, or
Right.
Or like even the one where they're moving like the Frogger game across the street and they have it plugged in the entire time.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I don't understand how that would work at all, because would you have to unplug it at some point to plug it into the extension cord?
You would think so. I don't
Or
understand.
do they say there's like a brief memory or something on it? I don't remember.
They don't mention that.
Fair enough. But yeah, so it's him. He's basically trying to break up with a friend, and this guy's like a real asshole. We see him look at the diner, which I think is that the same diner they always go to later. It looks slightly different, or at least they're sitting in a different.
It's the same diner, but they're sitting towards the back, more towards the counter, and later they sit in the first booth near the door.
Gotcha.
So
yeah,
it's a
so
different
they're there, and the guy's just like cussing out the waitress, and he's like oh, he's yelling at her for like stuff that she has no control over. Like he's just incredibly unlikable.
Yeah, he's
In the
like,
meantime,
he's like, hey, this turkey club, is that real turkey or is it a turkey roll? And she doesn't know. I assume he means like, not a turkey roll, but like,
like pressed meat or something.
yeah, deli turkey or whatever. And I'm gonna guess it's not real turkey, by the way. I mean, maybe in a New York deli. I don't know.
Has this guy ever been to a deli before? I mean,
Right.
I would think he'd know the menu at this point,
No kidding.
What's funny is I noticed at least twice people ordered egg salad, which is kind of weird.
Yes, both Jerry and I noticed that too. Jerry orders egg salad when he's eating with the guy, I can't remember his name. And then George orders an egg salad when he and his girlfriend break up at that restaurant, and he comments on how great the egg salad is. I mean, like, just egg salad can be fine, I guess, but like Jerry and Larry David really love egg salad or something. It's weird.
It could be. I'm not really sure, but yeah, that just stuck out to me because that's as a avowed mayonnaise hater, that just sounds gross to me.
Yeah.
So then, like, oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, by the way, that actor's name is Kevin Dunn. He's probably most well known, I'm gonna guess, as Sam Witwicky's father in Transformers. But he was also in the movie Dave. He was in Godzilla, Mississippi Burning, Ghostbusters 2, Bonfire of the Vanities, Hot Shots, Beethoven's Second.
I think it must be Hot Shots. That's the one I've seen at all. I've seen Ghostbusters 2, but I don't remember him in that. But I do remember Hot Shots. So maybe he was in that.
You ever seen Little Big League?
Isn't that where the kids becomes the manager? There was quite a few like baseball youth movies during our boyhood.
I think Little Big League is the one. Yes, it's the one where he takes over the Minnesota Twins after his grandpa dies or whatever.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. And all those movies had very weird clauses, like, oh, you have to win the AL Central next year, or the team goes to your most hated person in the world.
Right, exactly. Oh, but he was also on Cheers, Family Ties, 20. I mean, this guy has been around.
He's been I couldn't tell you, but yeah, he's definitely like a recognizable that guy kind of guy.
Yeah, you would know him if you saw him. Everybody.
Yeah, but then we find out that Jerry has gotten like courtside Knick tickets, I guess, like for the next week that he and George plan on going to.
Yeah. Yeah, it's, I guess, like, so in the parlance of the show, he's a well-known comedian. So I'm guessing this was either he just bought them or somebody gave them to him or whatever.
Oh, you see, I actually kind of wondered about that. I wondered how famous he's supposed to be, pardon me, on the show. I mean, is he just like a working comedian who makes his money from that, or is he supposed to be like a high level of fame? Because he's always in like clubs. He's never in like a theater or anything like that.
I would say he's probably Larry Miller famous.
Okay, I mean, you can make a very good living that way. I mean, you can probably make like tens of thousands of dollars, a week or something like that. I mean, you could definitely be making the high six.
Yeah, I would say.
But he also lives in New York.
I would say that's the level that he's supposed to be at, where he's people there. If you're a fan of stand-up comedy during this era, you'd probably know who he is, and he'd be recognizable a little bit, but not a giant celebrity. That's where I'd say he is.
That's fair. But yeah, so he's got tickets which are very expensive. Maybe not during this time period, but who knows? And so he tells this guy that he's like, oh yeah, I'm sick. I was supposed to go to this game, with my, or he said he invites him to the game. Isn't that what it is?
Well, so he does the thing that he says he's going to do while they're at the diner. After the guy yells at the waitress, you can see him kind of be like, well, fuck this. And you can see it very easily because he's not acting at all. And he's like, hey, look, I don't think this is working out. He does the whole, it's not you, it's me. It's a very cliched kind of thing where he's breaking up with this dude. And the guy starts to sob.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, he just cries.
So he takes it back and says he's just been under a lot of stress and he didn't mean it and they're still friends. And everything seems fine. And I don't know why, totally unprompted, he just is like, hey, I've got tickets to the Knicks on Wednesday. Why don't you go with me? Like, I don't get that.
Yeah, this whole episode to me, and again, I'm not a giant Seinfeld fan, but what is this, 89 when it first came out?
Yes, I believe so. So yeah, this would be 89, yeah.
This is like the most generic, like 80s / early 90s plot of like a sitcom ever. It's like, oh, but we were supposed to do this, but I made a promise to somebody else. But the boss is coming to dinner tonight. It's like every cliche you could think of in like an 80s, 90s sitcom, just crammed into one thing.
Yeah, and here's the thing. This is not a show about nothing. I do like Seinfeld in general, although it's weird, like especially watching the early episodes. People, like the studio audience or whoever it is, they're fucking cracking up at shit that I'm like, that's a joke? Like, isn't he just pointing stuff out? Like, how is that funny?
So I think, and I could be wrong in this, but here's my theory. I think this is like a perfect zeitgeist of a show. Like, it came out at the exact right time where like everything you do is considered groundbreaking, but it just would have naturally happened regardless just because of, society's progress. They were just the first to, like, I don't think they ever say the word masturbate during like the contest episode, but it's like probably one of the first, obvious references to masturbation on like a primetime, sitcom.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, could Martin have done it a year later? Yeah. I mean, it would have been this. I mean, it was just the time. I mean, I think Seinfeld he's not really my kind of sense of humor. I mean, I've watched the episodes. I'm not a giant fan of the, humor that style or whatever. But good for him. I'm glad that he was able to make, hundreds of millions, if not $1 billion off of the show, he and Larry David. And I do like Curb Your Enthusiasm because I think that's more my, a lot more surreal kind of humor.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah. So again, we went on a tangent, and by we I mean I. So yeah, he goes ahead and makes this wacky mix-up.
Right. So yeah, they go like Jerry eventually, like he's telling George because George is taking a jar of pennies to the bank because he thinks he's just going to give him this giant thing of pennies. It's like a water jug.
Yeah. It's huge.
He thinks that he's just going to give them to him and they're just going to take care of it. This is in the days before Coinstar or any kind of machines that could easily count this.
Right, and take like 12%.
So exactly. So he tells George, hey, I told him that he could have these tickets and everything. George is obviously upset. And then we go back to the apartment after the bank says that they're not going to do that for him. He's got to roll them himself. And Jerry says, well, I'll just tell him that I'm sick or I've got something to do or I can't go. And, George rightfully points out, he's like, well, if you're going to lie to him anyway, just tell him you lost the tickets and then we can go.
Right.
He's like, why don't you do that?
What I thought was going to happen is I thought they were going to go and then he was going to see them on TV since, they're courtside.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, you could have gone either way, I guess, for the cliche.
Yeah. So they, he calls him and he says that he's got to tutor his nephew in geometry. And then he says the words trapezoid and rhombus, which gets a laugh. And that's one of the things that I'm like, how is that funny? Like, what is funny about that line? Saying trapezoid and rhombus? I guess rhombus is kind of a funny word. I don't get it. But anyway, so
Yeah, that's almost like like the what do you call it? The Catskill kind of comedy.
yes, exactly. You can clearly see that Henny Youngman Catskill influence. What's his name too? James Mason. Or is it
And
James,
also,
is it James Mason?
I don't think James Mason's. You mean Jackie Mason?
Jackie Mason. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, James Mason's
An
like
actor.
a British actor.
That's a
Yeah.
little bit
And
different.
and I think too, you have a lot of Bill Cosby influence here because I think Bill
Yes.
Cosby, he always is like making wacky noises with words. I mean, yeah, he's probably the world's most successful rapist in modern times, but he also unfortunately contributed quite a bit to comedy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's hard to deny. But it's he if it's weird because Hitler was a decent artist, but not good enough to contribute at the level that Bill Cosby contributed to comedy. So I wonder if people would be torn if Hitler was a better artist but continued to do what he did.
Right. Well, I mean, I don't think you could separate the two with that. I mean, he wasn't like secretly like, oh man, this mystery man is conquering Europe.
That's true. It wouldn't have been something that came out later.
Wait, oh, that was they're the same Adolf Hitler. I thought it was just a common name over there. Hey, is that guy wearing a Michael Jordan mustache?
Oh my god, that's so awesome.
I was thinking about that earlier today because somebody mentioned. Do you remember this this '90s cartoon called like Pro Sports or something like that?
Oh,
and it had Wayne Gretzky and Bo Jackson and Michael.
Oh yeah, a little bit, yeah.
And they each it was like someone from each sport, and of course, the part of the joke was Bo Jackson was both of them.
Yes.
He was baseball and football until his hips exploded.
Right.
And then, but like, it was funny because I looked at it, and no, like actors did the voices. Michael Jordan never set foot on the set, as far as I know.
That's awesome.
He never. And then, of course, Michael Jordan. I always think of his Hitler mustache. Like, did he not? I want someone to ask about that because I have a lot of questions. Did he not know that Hitler had a mustache like that? Was he just like, what, I'm Michael fucking Jordan. I'm going to wear a Hitler mustache, see if anyone says anything.
See, that's my feeling is that he thought, I'm big enough that I can bring this back.
No, I thought he just didn't think anyone would have the balls to say anything to him, and I think he was right.
Well, yeah, I don't think anyone walked up to him and was like, hey, Jordan, you got a mustache. You can't do that.
You got a little Hitler on your upper lip.
Yeah. But, it is weird. Because if he, like, let's say he was trying to bring that back, why? Is that mustache style's not cool enough?
So that's something you need to reclaim.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, if Hitler had a handlebar mustache,
that would have been awesome.
And someone
I think Kaiser William did, didn't he?
Right. And someone was like, hey, we don't want to lose that. That's too good of a look.
So I think the Hitler mustache was just so specific.
Yeah, you don't see that from a lot of people. It's a weird.
Yeah, you mostly see it on women in pornographic movies.
Right. It's a weird decision. I'm gonna do 97% of shaving, but I'm leaving just this bit.
Yeah, I'm lazy to the point where I'm either going to be clean shaven or I'm going to just have a ridiculous beard. I don't care enough to learn the subtle arts of picking the appropriate facial hair for my face and that sort of stuff. It's just beard, and then when the beard gets too unruly, I shave it off.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, speaking of disasters, though, before we finish up with Seinfeld, I was gonna save this for the main show, but this could be a future dumpster diving we do. So I wanted to bring this up to you. The Oscar nominations came out a few days ago, and
yeah, that's right.
There were some snubs. Apparently, I didn't watch the the announcements because I don't really care. But I guess Adam Sandler was in a movie called Uncut Gems, in which he supposedly does an excellent job, as we know because we've
according to the trailer says he's great in it.
Right. But as we've seen in certain movies like Punch Drunk Love and movies like that, I really like Reign Over Me. He can be an excellent actor when he puts his mind to it with the right director and everything. So he did not receive an Oscar nomination, which they're calling a snub, and apparently they said that I can't remember what publication put this out. I'm doing the biggest air
Tiger
quotes
Beat?
ever, but yeah, something like that. But they said here are 28 like terrible Adam Sandler movies that he should make to punish the Oscar people for not nominating him. Now most of them are terrible. Like most of the, I mean, not like these are terrible ideas. They're all terrible ideas, but most of them are not funny. This is obviously like a joke article,
Right.
and most of them are not funny jokes. Like,
It's not like it's Trey Parker, Matt Stone writing Rob Schneider parodies.
yeah, exactly. Most of them are the same joke. It's just like some sequel where it's like Big Daddy 2. Adam Sandler gets CGI'd to look like a 5-year-old, and Dylan and Cole Sprouse, now all grown up in real life, play his adoptive father. It's a shot-for-shot remake. It's like, yeah, that's not funny. But the one that I thought was kind of funny is 9/11 2. Adam Sandler is a hardworking firefighter who tries to win back his ex by staging a terrorist attack to gain to gain sympathy for first responders.
Oh, wow.
But when he enlists the help of his 3 bumbling best friends, Rob Schneider, Kevin James, and David Spade, things go hilariously off the rails.
I don't know if you know this or not, but I think he actually did say that if he didn't get nominated for an Oscar, he would like make the worst movies ever, on purpose.
Yeah, he
or they could just re-release Murder Mystery.
Yeah, no kidding. He apparently said that on Howard Stern, so I think that was the genesis of the article.
Sure. Yeah, he's perplexing. I mean, if you can do a good job, why not just do a good job? I mean, I'm sure it's an easy paycheck. I mean, I think he's got like a deal with Netflix now where he's making like 3,000 movies or some crazy amount like that. I mean, he's in some stuff. He's like you said, he's very good. I mean, he's also very funny in some things, but it seems like he doesn't really care to be funny for the most part. Like, I mean, I've exhausted my efforts on him. Like I think I made it to like Little Nicky, and then like, okay, I'm good. I mean, I think my wife does like that movie, and it has its moments, but that's just like, okay. I don't know. I think I saw Mr. Deeds, which might have been after that.
Yeah,
which was okay, but I mean, it wasn't like it could have been better. You could tell it could have been better.
Yeah, the thing is that he's a very good actor. He has very good comedic timing. For the most part, if his friends that are writers or himself is writing the script, then the movie's going to be terrible. If someone with actual talent is writing for him and directing the movie, then it's probably going to be good because he's going to be really good in it.
See, I don't know about that because I'm pretty sure he had a lot to do with Billy Madison and Happy Gilmore, the first 2, post SNL movies, because he was in like some movie called like Off the Board, something that was him on a boat. Like I always saw it at the video store, but it looks like he was in it for like 5 minutes and then they put him on the cover.
I think it's called like, Going Overboard, I believe.
I think you're right. Yeah. I thought Overboard was in the thing. What was that movie you said had Sylvester Stallone on the cover, or maybe it wasn't him, but it seemed kind of similar. Oh, Bruce Willis, I think. He was on the cover of it.
That's
he was like
adequate.
barely in the movie. Exactly. Yeah. So I think that might have been like, but I mean, I thought those were funny. I don't know if it's like a, nostalgia / sign of its times things. I mean, there's very few movies that are always funny. I mean, I know a lot of people say the Marx Brothers are really good still. I haven't looked at them, and I haven't heard anybody under the age of 60 say that either.
Well, I like Duck Soup, I think, is really good.
But I have a guess about this, and tell me if I'm right here. Is there a lot of physical comedy?
No, actually, so the Marx Brothers there's a little bit of physical comedy, but during the era when they performed, it was like, like the Three Stooges and stuff, there was a lot of physical comedy going on.
Yeah, it was like the end of vaudeville, I think. They crossed over to TV. I think they were originally in vaudeville.
There was a lot of physical comedy going on, and they stood out by not doing that. They were more, like...
cerebral?
Yeah, more cerebral and, like, kind of, what's the word? Like the, where it's, like, not double entendre necessarily, but, I mean, there's some of that. But they, like, clever wordplay, basically.
Sure. Yeah, okay, yeah, maybe I'll check it out, because my thought was that, like, physical comedy is almost timeless. Like, you could watch, like, a Buster Keaton movie, and still, it's still as fresh to you as it was the day it came out. But,
yeah,
like a movie, like we talked about, like even a movie that, came out, like, 10 years ago that was hilarious then, it's just like, it's not that great if you were to watch it for the first time now.
Yeah, that's because, when, like you said, physical comedies may be one of the only forms of comedy that is kind of timeless. Everything else is such a product of its time, what's going on in the world and everything.
Right, like one of the many genius things that Rowan Atkinson did with Mr. Bean is the character barely talks, so when he does it's just gibberish. I mean, that's why it was like one of the most popular comedies like worldwide in so many countries, because you don't need subtitles for Mr. Bean. You just have this gifted comedic actor. A lot of physical comedy, obviously, since he's not talking. But it's just it's that just translates so well. So I think I will check out like Duck Soup. I hear that's pretty good. I'm sure it's on something. If not, maybe it's probably free somewhere. I imagine it's expired, but then again, it's put out by a movie company, so it probably never expires the copyright.
Right, exactly. Disney owns it somehow.
Probably.
But yeah, it's pretty good. I like Groucho Marx especially. The physical one is the most physical one's probably Harpo because he's the one that doesn't talk.
That's because Oprah beats his ass every night. If you want to watch a good documentary about the Marx Brothers, check out Gumbo. It's really good.
All right.
Oh, I didn't have another point. You know how we discussed that like Denzel Washington basically won Training Day because of Malcolm X?
Yeah.
I feel that Adam Sandler has the opposite. Like, he's just going to be like not qualified for anything because of how many shitty movies he's put out. Like, he could put out like the next like Citizen Kane,
right?
Not like a shot-by-shot remake, but he probably will do that as a comedy at some point. But he could just put out like the greatest movie ever. It's like, I don't think so. You were in the water.
Yeah. Adam Sandler could do Macbeth, in which he plays every single role, and like,
which is funny because in Billy Madison he does this. Oh, that's Hamlet. My fault there.
But like exactly. But even like Lady Macbeth, and he does a better job than Sir Lawrence fucking Olivier, and the Academy would still be like, no, we're not giving this to
Jack and Jill.
Exactly.
Like, he had to put out enough good roles to negate all the bad ones.
Right. Once you're in the what the hell is it called? The Razzie. Once you're in the Razzie Hall of Fame, you can't win an Academy Award.
Yeah, he's definitely in the Hall of Fame. I think Halle Berry won a Razzie and an Oscar like in the same week.
Oh, yeah, and
for Catwoman and Monsters Ball.
She showed up to collect her Razzie
with her Oscar, I think.
Yeah. That's I'll tell you, I don't know much about her, but that's a hell of a sense of humor. I definitely appreciate that.
I don't know much about her either, but she was on Hot Ones and she did not flinch at any of the wings, and that is terrifying to me because I love spicy foods and I tried the bomb and I threw up twice.
I remember. Yeah.
I think it's because of all the water I drank and I had an empty stomach, but I wouldn't try it again. It was just pure. It was like napalm sticking to your mouth.
You know who else seems like a very tough woman who was also on Hot Ones, is Charlize.
Lady Godiva.
Charlize Theron.
Yeah, I think she also was basically unaffected.
And I heard a story from another podcast actually where where she was when they did the movie The Italian Job, they did a training for everyone to learn how to do these stunts, like driving in these Mini Coopers, and the producers came up to her and they were like, okay, so we're gonna give you like an extra week of training. This is like before they even did anything. We're gonna give you like an extra week of training, and the car's gonna be like modified and everything, like, because she was a girl and she's right. And she's like, fuck off. And,
I like her a lot. She has a really great personality, like in interviews and stuff. She's not only very attractive. I mean, she was in the movie Monster, which she's a great actress in that.
Yep.
That movie is just it's a very good movie.
And she ended up being the best. Like, she was like, I don't need any of this fucking extra training. And she ended up being the best driver, like, by far of any of them.
Oh, I do not doubt that. She seems very strong-willed. I wonder, do they drive? Is she from South Africa?
Yes.
What side of the road do they drive on down there, I wonder? And also, what side of the road do they drive on in Italy?
It's the left side in both cases.
If I know anything about Italy, they drive all over the fucking road.
No, I'm sorry, the right side. It's the opposite that we drive on. It's the right side.
We drive on the right side.
Okay, it's the left side then.
That explains all those tickets, huh?
Yeah, that's right. It's the left side in both cases. The only place in Europe where they drive on the right side of the road like we do is France, and then in Africa. In Africa, I don't think there is. I don't think there is a country where they drive on the same side as we do.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, so yeah, he could end up showing up at Seinfeld's house to get the tickets because he wants to take his nephew, I think.
Yeah, well, he says he's doing the thing for his nephew, and he ends up taking Kramer because he talked to him on the phone for a while. When Kramer told them they have a cure for cancer.
Isn't this like a reoccurring thing that Kramer's doing here, or is this so? Because he says like a catchphrase on here. I've heard people quote. I don't know if it's just for this episode. Like tell a word, like something about a business name when he answers the phone or something. Or he's trying to get some kind of scheme together.
Kramerica Industries.
That's what it was. Yeah. Is that a reoccurring thing?
Yes, this is actually the first episode in which it appears. But yeah, he that's like whatever he calls his company, and this idea he brings up the idea of making your own pizza.
That's a terrible idea.
A restaurant where you make your own pizza, and that's that this is the first time that appeared, but that's a reoccurring thing as well.
I mean, don't you always make your own pizza? You order what's on it and just go, give me a pizza. Whatever the fuck is on it is fine. I mean, you just have somebody who knows how to make a pizza make it for you.
Right, exactly. I don't understand.
I know that's kind of his thing to have like wacky or bad ideas or whatever, but yeah, this one is especially like it's just bewildering.
Yeah, what's the added appeal of you being the one to touch the ingredients?
Like I like going to restaurants and eating pizza, but I wish I could make it.
Right. Oh, yeah. It's really dumb. It's a really dumb idea. But they end up doing it at one point, like far into the future, and it turns out disastrously. I like that George pointing out you can't have people shoving their arms into 600-degree ovens.
Yeah, when I was younger, I worked briefly making pizzas, and I accidentally touched my knuckle like to the top of the thing, and it was like instantly like a giant bubble of flesh. I mean, they are extremely hot, and it's a very bad idea. I mean, liability.
Yeah. So I mean, that's pretty much the episode. I'm bewildered how this show got picked up.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I've seen the episode where they're like trying to pitch the idea of the show, where George and Seinfeld are.
Yeah.
But and that one also wasn't very good. I mean, obviously it's become popular later. The later episodes were very popular. It was like probably like the beginning of like the Thursday night lineup, or maybe Friends was. I think Seinfeld was first though, but I think it was obviously one of the most popular shows on the air.
Yeah.
I mean, again, like, it's just not my sense of humor. I mean, I like hearing Jerry talk to comedians and comedians in the car, but I mean, like, his jokes are always like, it's observational humor a lot, which, I mean, he does have a lot of, clever ideas and that kind of stuff. It's like, it's not that funny to me.
Yeah, I like Jerry's, like, thoughts on comedy and everything more than his comedy. Like, if Jerry taught a class, if he was like a professor of comedy, I'd be fascinated to watch his thoughts on how you build a set and like just like different things like that, the like deconstructing timing and things like that. But as far as like his actual jokes, I don't think he's like a complete hack or anything.
No, he's definitely one of the most successful and probably one of the best 80s comedians. I'm sure Jay Leno is also up there, but he, both of them moved out of comedy, somewhat quickly, but they were both touring comedians. I think Leno was very popular before he became,
absolutely
the host of this.
And he used to be way edgier too.
Yeah, and I mean Jerry, obviously is a very clean comedian, so he could, go anywhere. I mean, even like his like dirty thoughts or whatever, the whole masturbation thing, that's done in a way that you could have like a 10-year-old watch it and it'd probably go over their head, but I mean it's not like he's not being very like visceral with his description.
Right, exactly.
But yeah, I mean, again, I'm not a fan of the show. I didn't think it wasn't the worst thing I saw, but there was nothing, like you said, I don't know how it got picked up. There's nothing special about this episode. There's not none of the characters really pop out. I mean, maybe the novelty of like the stand-up sets, which are rather lengthy.
Yeah, they are.
But I mean, again, I think that's just like, shit, let's just throw in your stand up, we could just do that. Or they have like 20 stand up comedians on the writing staff, like, hey, do you mind if I use this joke? Like, yeah, whatever, you're paying me, $5,000 a week, I don't care.
Yeah, and that's the thing too is it's clearly used to pad out the episode quite a bit.
And from what I've heard, Jerry and Larry David did all the writing. Like,
Yeah.
they would ask people who were on the staff, like, about life stories and that kind of stuff, and they would steal them and modify them. But, like, I think Spike Ferenstein won an Emmy for writing Seinfeld, but I don't think he wrote any of the episode, really. I think, they would just put a different person's name on it for some reason. I don't know if that's like a guild requirement.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly why, but yeah, I think they were clearly, especially Larry when he was on the show, was pretty tightly controlling over the writing and everything.
And good for them. I mean, they did it their way. They came out with a popular show that was, I doubt anything was put in there they didn't want. I mean, Jerry has a series of romantic relationships, but he's not like, oh no, we're getting married. Like in Friends, like around season 3, at least one of the friends has to get married.
Yeah.
Look, this one's pregnant. That didn't really happen. I mean, the characters are kind of assholes, which is refreshing. I mean, everybody on TV is like, oh no, I'm going to go to the post office and then I'm going to go down and dole out some soup to the homeless. And like, oh no, look at this guy. He's a real asshole. He didn't pay his parking ticket on time. Whereas like, there's like some really like severe narcissistic behavior in Seinfeld.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Which, is, I'm sure it's, the comedians just presenting their actual thoughts, and that kind of stuff. But yeah, that is refreshing. I mean, I don't hate on them. Good for him for, all his success. I just, if someone gave me a free ticket to go see Seinfeld, I'd be like, yeah, hey, Mark, you want this ticket? I don't really want to.
Right, exactly. I don't necessarily think I'd go see him perform either. Like you said, I mean, I don't hate him. I think he's an interesting guy with some really interesting thoughts.
Yeah, he definitely has a theory and a plan for what he's doing. Mm-hmm. Although I do want to point out, this is a very commonly quoted thing that supposedly he had like a big calendar, and every day he'd write a joke, he put an X on it. And then he just like, when he ever became frustrated or got like writer's block, he'd look and be like, oh yeah, I have this big chain of successes. Mm-hmm. Apparently that's not true at all. He was asked about it in an interview. I think it was with Larry King, maybe someone else. He's like, yeah, I don't know where that comes from. That's just all made up.
Okay. Yeah. So that's our episode.
Actually, do you mind if I jam one more thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
Did you hear?
I've heard that before.
Sorry. Maybe that's when you went to prison for all those fucking tickets you driving on the wrong side of the road. The lack of respect is the worst part.
It is. It really is.
And the hypocrisy. But did you see that Stephen King was being dragged, as they say, because he said that if he were to nominate a film, he wouldn't consider diversity.
Oh no, I didn't see that.
Yeah, which is kind of funny because he's like, obviously like a well-known liberal, and he's like, writes about like how much he hates Trump more than Pennywise each day, that sort of thing, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. But it's just kind of, I mean, I agree. I mean, should you consider diversity? If you're looking for the best movie, you really shouldn't. I mean, if they want to have the directors' names be blank, obviously you can't with the actors and that sort of thing. I mean, I'm fine with that if you want the entire movie to be a blind submission and then like at the Oscars, like, oh shit, that was directed by Quentin Tarantino. I mean, obviously some directors you'll be like, yeah, that's a Martin Scorsese movie. There's mobsters talking about, the Rolling Stones concert. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it's just, that's the only other it's not really progress if you're still being prejudiced against a group of people, I mean, you can't say, well, I would resent it quite a bit if I'm like, well, you only won this award because you're from Michigan. We needed more Michiganders, winning these awards. It's like, well, no, I should win on my own merit. I mean, not because, I'm part of a, traditionally unrepresented group, which thankfully there are more, people directing and, producing and acting that traditionally weren't seen in front of or behind a camera. But I mean, that just kind of like, denigrates the entire, equality thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the thing. So I guess I'm just reading about this now. Ava DuVernay tweeted, "When you wake up, meditate, stretch, reach." By the way, fuck yourself. For
you're gonna meditate then stretch, isn't? I guess I was thinking of yoga, but I mean, yeah, fuck you regardless. So you drink your decaffeinated, not trade friendly, non-exploited people herbal green tea.
Yeah, exactly. Now here's the thing, and I got another point to make on this.
You go whack off to the Tiananmen Square massacre a couple times.
Right, exactly. So Ava DuVernay, I have something to say. There's something that separates us more than race or gender or sexual orientation, and it's class. When Ellen was in a little bit of hot water or whatever, but it was, like not much at all. When she was at I think it was a Texas Rangers game. No, it was a Cowboys game. And she was in a luxury box, and she was sitting next to George W. Bush, and she took a video of her and like George W. Bush joking with each other and everything. And then people on Twitter were like, what are you doing? And everything, like you shouldn't be friends with him. He's against gay people, like all this stuff. And she came out and she was like,
again.
Yeah, well, she came out. She said, hey, I say, like, be kind to each other. That means like everyone. It doesn't matter what our political ideologies are or whatever. And that was like her defense of it. But here's the thing, the George W. Bush, like, if you like objectively looked at, is a war criminal. Like someone who. Sure. Someone who like supported torture, like encouraged and implemented, systematic torture of prisoners,
or at the very least allowed it to happen.
Yeah, invaded a country with, no provocation, based on lies. So it's like it's different than like just him being like, I don't think gay people should be allowed to get married or whatever. There are certain things that George
Which he also is against, and still is, I'm sure.
Right. But it's different. Like, he's like an actual war criminal. But here's the thing. The reason that she's okay with him and okay with being friends with him is because they're both rich. They're both in that luxury box. They're peers in a way that she'll never be peers with 90% of the population. All these fucking people.
Some would say 99%.
Right. Exactly, Bert. All these people that fucking worship her. And it's like, she's not one of you. She can use her little southern accent and dance on the fucking TV like she's some, fun aunt from down the street. But she's not like you. And she hasn't been like you for a lot of years, and she'll never be able to relate to you.
I think it's when the rapper Offset, I could be wrong, maybe someone else. They were on the show. I think their group was, and he was like saying something about he wanted to buy like a Maybach. Ellen like personally called the Maybach dealer who she knew, and set everything up for him in like 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Another counterpoint is that Michelle Obama does the exact same thing with George Bush, but more so. They seem very friendly, but apparently she's protected because she's more diverse or more suppressed by society. I have no idea, but it's the same thing. That's also a class issue. It's they share candy. They're buddies. Look it up. People have mentioned it, but she's like, oh yeah, it's a human thing. And as far as the war criminal thing, you could say any president, except for possibly Jimmy Carter, committed war crimes, that you've seen or haven't seen.
True.
Obviously the drone strikes with Obama, aren't necessarily the most. Although I have to say he did go over he had a lawyer approve everyone at a certain point, but not every. It wasn't just terrorists being killed.
Yeah, exactly. That's I have a lot of problems with Obama, especially when it comes to that. But not necessarily. Yeah, go ahead.
I think the Onion pointed out that he was the first Nobel Prize winner to bomb other Nobel Prize winners, which were the Doctors Without Borders.
Yes. Oh, God.
Yeah. Now that we went to the political and that no one wants to hear, we're done.
But yeah, so Ava DuVernay says, when you wake up, meditate, stretch, because she's a fucking privileged person. Reach for your phone.
And then she put in parentheses, which I do because I'm a vegan.
Yeah. Reach for your phone to check on the world and see a tweet from someone you admire that is so backward and ignorant you want to go back to bed. How is it backward and ignorant? How is it backward and ignorant to say...
It's actually very progressive compared to the current, political climate.
Exactly. Because what he's saying is that
he wants people to be judged by the content of their character and not the color of their skin?
Yeah, exactly. And like when Moonlight won a couple years ago, Was Moonlight a better movie than La La Land? I mean, it's subjective, but in
I'm
my
gonna guess
opinion,
yeah, because La La Land's a musical, and musicals are terrible.
right. But in my opinion, yeah, it was, and it should have won that year, and it did. For the most part, this isn't. That's the problem. Is when when a woman isn't nominated every year for a directing Oscar, or when there are people of color that aren't nominated every year for acting Oscars or something like that. Everyone reacts like, oh, it's the 50s again, or it's the 60s again, where Sidney Poitier is getting looked over and he's doing great work. That's not always the case.
Right.
Maybe.
In fact, it's probably rarely the case because people are called out for even getting a caterer that's I don't know, Mexican that serves Chinese food because it's cultural appropriation.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, not every time there's a group that is excluded from private industries awards dinner. By the way,
Right.
like this isn't the fucking election; it's a private industry award show.
Right. Yeah, it's an award show. What does an award mean ultimately? I mean,
Yeah.
probably some more money to the actor or director that, for their future works. But I mean, ultimately it means it's nothing. It means nothing to society in general. It's not like, oh my God, the Russians are going to launch the nukes, but then fucking Ryan Reynolds won a, Golden Globe award, so now they stopped.
Yeah, the Oscars is one of the least important things in the world. Well,
I mean, it's fun to watch. It's nice if you. I guess I watched the Golden Globes, like we mentioned. I was annoyed that Joe Pesci didn't win because I really thought he did a great job. I don't know if he was nominated for an Oscar. I hope so.
right.
But I mean, it's
was.
not. I didn't lose sleep at night.
Yeah, yeah, because it's
He may have because he came out of retirement for the Irishman. But I mean, it's. I don't even know who won over him. That's it. Oh no, it was Brad Pitt. But
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yep. And yeah, he got nominated. Brad Pitt did too. So it'll be a showdown again. I think he's going to win the Oscar. I do.
That would be, and I hope Scorsese wins. Because even though it's very slow, The Irishman is a very good movie.
Yep, agreed. But anyway, yeah, I have no problem with what Stephen King said. I mean, it's so funny. Stephen King's, as you pointed out, Stephen King's liberal bona fides shouldn't really be questioned. I mean, he's on the front lines, doesn't care who he alienates from his readership. He fucking rails against Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump and the rest of the Republicans pretty much every day. And when you are this is why people hate liberals, by the way, and this is what liberals do.
Oh, this is why I hate them. Yes,
this is what liberals do to each other all the time. Liberals are like, oh, you're not fucking liberal enough, or when they argue with each other and they cannibalize each other to see who can be the most woke or whatever. It's just try to be nice to people and make fucking logical decisions. And, you won't be liberal, you won't be conservative, you'll just be a fucking good person. And don't fucking, all these labels, it really pisses me off.
right. And it's I mean, yeah, I understand changes need to be made in society, and they are happening incrementally. But I mean, just because Clive Barker goes on a rant about transgender rights, it's not going to make some guy in Kentucky who makes his own moonshine and loves the idea of joining a militia and blowing up the government and be like, well, he's got some points.
Right, exactly. It's like Bill Burr points out when there's a billboard that says, hey, you shouldn't abuse women or something like that. Like some guy that slaps around his wife is going to be driving down the road and oh, fuck, I had no idea. You're not supposed to do that.
Yeah, Chris Brown was about to, finish off Rihanna and he saw those fucking billboards and it saved her life.
Right, exactly. It's dumb, and I mean,
yeah, you just have to separate the artist from the art to a degree. I mean, Bill Cosby, I was never a fan in the first place, so it's not hard to say, oh, fuck that guy and everything he ever did. I mean, I'm happy to see all the bad things that are happening to him happen to him. I mean, he's been convicted, so I guess, you could say this, but even if he's not convicted, I mean, I'm sorry, O.J. Simpson killed his wife and Ron Goldman. He's not convicted, but he did it.
Yeah.
And he wrote a book saying how he did it, and it was very graphic.
Yep, exactly.
But I mean, to a degree, I mean, for me, Louis C.K., I like his comedy a lot, and it's really weird because yeah, what he did was inappropriate, but if what he says happened the way it happened, it's more weird and fucked up than like a sexual assault.
Yeah, that's the thing. I got in trouble for saying. I mean, I didn't really get in trouble, but like,
Oh no, the police came.
but like two people on Twitter called me a moron or whatever. But when that Louis C.K. thing came out, and everyone was like, "Oh, it's another fucking Harvey Weinstein or whatever. It's another, Bill
Cosby.
Bill Cosby." And I was like, "No, it's not the same thing." And like people are like, "Oh my God, you're a fucking Louis C.K. apologist. You're a fucking asshole and everything." And it's like, no, you see your attitude right there. This is why people hate you, and this is why there's so much like division in the world because of what you're doing right there. Think about it logically. I'm not saying that, if it's true what Louis C.K. did was the right thing to do.
It certainly was not the right thing to do.
Right. I'm saying that there's a spectrum of bad things, and raping someone, sexually assaulting someone, and then masturbating in front of someone are, different spectrums of bad. None of them
allegedly
are good, but they're very.
Supposedly he asked permission, which kind of does make it better, which is weird, but it does.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's like, if it's true, which I mean, I think it's pretty. I think Louis C.K. basically admitted it was true.
Yeah,
it's it's a fucked up weird thing to do, but it's not the same as raping someone. It's okay to say that something is worse than rape.
Sure, and I mean, this is coming from a guy who has a joke about the sooner you masturbate after 9/11 is a degree of how bad of a person you were, and he goes, "Yeah, I was finishing off between the first and the second towers got hit."
Right.
So I mean, that's not a person you're not going to suspect just because you have bad thoughts or evil thoughts like that you're a rapist. But I mean, it's not like he's it's not like he's Bill Cosby or Jerry Seinfeld.
Exactly. And then
Vince Champ.
Yeah, exactly. Vince Champ's a great example. I love that when fucking what's his name? I can't remember his name.
Norm?
No, the guy was telling the story on Norm's show, but he was like, yeah, his gimmick was that he would go from show to show, and he would like sexually assault. He'd do the college tour, and he'd sexually he'd rape one of the the women as he was coming through, and Norm goes, maybe one of the worst gimmicks that he's did.
Yeah.
Because it's weird. I can't remember who it was, but it's a weird choice of words gimmick.
It may have been what's that tall guy who worked with Ricky Gervais? Steven? No, I don't know.
It wasn't Stephen Merchant. I think it was the guy that was on Everybody Loves Raymond a couple times, and
was it what the fuck was it? His friend? Shit, I can't remember. Fred Stoller.
Yes, Stoller. That's right. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was Stoller.
Yeah. We're going very long in this episode, and most of it's about rape, so we should probably go ahead and end this one.
Yeah. Why don't you tell friends to listen to the show and do all that? Here.
What do you got against it?
Yeah.
Do you like content? So do we. Leave a like.
There you go. Do that shit.
Right.
But this has been dumpster diving /soapbox /rape talk.
Rape Talk, our new podcast.
We'll see you next time on Massive Rape Fee.
Don't rape people.